Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Fantasy Football Week 10 quarterback start or sits. I'm going to be going over my two starts at the quarterback position as we enter Week 10 of the Fantasy Football season. Then I'm going to be talking about a couple guys that you probably should be considering to be sits for this coming week due to matchups or downwardly trending play from that specific quarterback due to the offense being lackluster and or them not being able to stop themselves from turning over the ball. After we go over that, I'm going to be talking about my 1 through 18 quarterback rankings as I give you guys a little bit of insight on how I think Week 10 of the fantasy football season is going to break down. These rankings will not include the Thursday night game of Cam Newton and Ben Roethlisberger. For those of you who own them, either one of those quarterbacks, you probably started them, and from what we've been able to see, it's been all Steelers all game long. So anyway, but before we get into any other quarterback information, I want to thank all of you. By all means, thank you very much if you have subscribed to this YouTube channel. I mean, when I first began, I never really thought I'd get to this point, to be honest. I thought, you know what, this could be fun. I might as well give it a shot. And with all the support from you guys, the loyal subscriber, my community, it's just been incredible. I don't know how we've gotten here, but you know, I'm just going to keep busting my ass, and hopefully we can get to twice as much as this. But either way, I want to thank you all, those of you who have been here since the beginning, and those of you who have just newly subscribed. Thank you for joining this community, helping build a pretty enjoyable experience for myself, and hopefully the content that I've brought out has helped you guys thus far this season. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's talk about quarterbacks, shall we? Hey everybody, how's it going? All right, so we're here. We're talking Week 10 fantasy football quarterbacks. And the first two starts of the week that I wanted to mention, it's going to be Matt Ryan and it's going to be Carson Wentz. And let's talk about Matt Ryan at first, right? So Matt Ryan in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, comparatively to every other quarterback, has scored the second most fantasy points at the quarterback position, only behind Patrick Mahomes, who's just been tearing it up. We already know that Patrick Mahomes is going to be the number one. But number two has surprisingly been Matt Ryan. Since the first game of the season where they came out, he only put up 8 fantasy points, didn't throw a single touchdown. Since that game, he's turned it around. He's turned the ship around, and he's getting it towards a spot where the Falcons they're beginning to look like they could potentially be a wild card team in the NFL this season, starting 1-4, and now they are 4-4 going into this week's matchup against the Cleveland Browns, who, in my opinion, as of late, they haven't looked great. I mean, we saw Patrick Mahomes tear them apart this past week, and I think Matt Ryan is going to be able to do the same. He's capable. He has the offensive pieces that surround him to do so, and this coming week, I have a lot of confidence in Matt Ryan. Just this past week, right, he played against the tough defense, as they traveled to Washington to play the Redskins. He was able to drop 4 touchdowns on them, 350 passing yards. He turned over the ball once. No big deal, because it happens, you know what I mean? But as of right now, we've seen Matt Ryan throughout the season. We've had him, 5 touchdowns in a game, 3 touchdowns in a game, 3 touchdowns in a game, 4 touchdowns in a game. And he's still, even in those games where he only throws 1 touchdown, he's capable of getting 20-plus fantasy points in a 6-point per passing touchdown league because of how many passing yards he's capable of putting up. With weapons such as Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Tevin Coleman, Austin Hooper, Matt Ryan has been extremely good so far this season. And this coming week against the Cleveland Browns, even having them play in Cleveland this week does not scare me. I think Matt Ryan for sure is going to have a fantastic fantasy week. And if he's on your roster, you should be starting him without a doubt in your mind. It should be an easy play that you shouldn't have to worry about. So Matt Ryan, he is my first start of the week. I mean, guys, he's thrown 19 touchdowns thus far this season. That's pretty insane. Having only played 8 games, he's practically throwing. It's not 2.5 yet per se, but it's about 2.3 touchdowns per game. And I did the math off the top of my head. I'm probably wrong, but either way, he's throwing at least 2 a game, and that's what you want for a quarterback. This week, I'm seeing 3. I can see 3 touchdowns just as long as Ito Smith doesn't somehow come in and garbage time steal one on the red zone. Anyway, let's move on to the second quarterback that I wanted to mention when it comes to the starts for Week 10 of the fantasy football season. I'm talking about Carson Wentz of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, what has Carson Wentz been able to do as of late? Since he came back, he's been pretty damn consistent, posting numbers such as 25 points, 25 points, 30 points, 22.7, and 29 points, right? Ever since he came back, Carson Wentz has more and more looked like the MVP candidate that he was before he tore his ACL last season in Week 13. So as of right now, as of the last couple weeks, right, he's thrown 2, sometimes even 3 touchdowns in the last, 5 weeks, ever since this bye week. Carson Wentz is getting there, guys. He's getting back to full form. And not only that, they've brought in more weapons for Carson Wentz to utilize. Yes, he's not going to have J.J. Due to J.J.'s torn ACL and out for the season, but he still has running backs that he's going to have serviceable. Josh Adams, Wendell Smallwood, Corey Clement, Sproles, who somehow managed to find himself injured again this week. So where do I see Carson Wentz? Bringing in guys like Golden Tate, that only helps him. So going forward, and especially this coming week in Philadelphia against the Dallas Cowboys, I think Carson Wentz is going to be able to feast against this Dallas Cowboys defense. If Marcus Mariota can go into Dallas on a Monday night and absolutely wreck shop and have himself a fantastic week, then what do you think Carson Wentz is going to be capable of? I absolutely think Carson Wentz is going to look like an MVP this coming Sunday Night Football, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to stop him with the weapons like Ertz, Jeffrey, Tate, Aguilar, Goddard. He's going to be able to do whatever he really wants to against this defense. I have full confidence in him. And going forward, Carson Wentz, man, I think he may be a every week kind of start, but we'll assess him when we get to every week. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for this week against the Dallas Cowboys, I have a lot of confidence in him. And to be honest, you should too. So if you have Carson Wentz, throw him in that starting lineup. Get ready for some points. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next section of this video. This is a shorter video because, to be honest, the quarterbacks, there's not as many to talk about because I'm not going to talk about all those garbage quarterbacks. A couple quarterbacks on bye week that usually I would mention, such as Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson. But when it comes to sits at the quarterback position, I'm not sure if there's enough depth at the quarterback position for me to specifically say, hey, you should sit this guy. Because to be honest, with specific leagues like a 12-team league where you only start one quarterback, right? There really isn't going to be an opportunity for you to have to go and play a guy that is considered a sit, like Josh Rosen or perhaps Sam Darnold if he was healthy, right? You wouldn't go out to make those kind of pickups and plays unless you were in like a 2-quarterback league. So to be honest, I'm going to stick away from the start or the sit section, I guess you could say, of the quarterback position. And we're just going to go over a couple of the matchups for this coming week for Week 10 of the fantasy football season, right? So as you can see, number one matchup, right? We have Alex Smith, who's going to be playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are giving up the most points to the quarterback position on a weekly basis. I'm not really surprised, but here's the deal. Can Alex Smith deliver the ball downfield? Is his offensive line going to give him enough time to be able to read the defense and be able to make those plays? And on top of it, are they going to allow Alex Smith to pass the ball, or are they going to feed the ball to Adrian Peterson? That is, just those three questions against the easiest defense in the NFL as of right now, that's nothing that should bring you confidence. If you have to question whether or not Alex Smith is going to be good in perhaps the easiest matchup he could possibly ask for as of right now, that's a sign in itself that you should probably be careful. The second easiest matchup, giving the second most points to the quarterback position in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues thus far this season, that's Andy Dalton playing against the Saints. Do I trust Andy Dalton? That's the question. Can Andy Dalton produce without A.J. Green? Yes, he has Tyler Boyd. Yes, he has C.J. Uzomah. A little bit of John Ross, Joe Mixon. But is he capable enough to not have that number one wide receiver out there, A.J. Green, that has been his safety blanket his entire career? I'm not sure about that. You'll see from my rankings. But I'm a little worried. Number 3, the Atlanta Falcons give up a lot of points. That's also another reason why I talked about Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's defense, they're not great. They're going to give up a decent amount of points. In playing against the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield has been 2 passing touchdowns every single week for the last 3 weeks. So I think Baker Mayfield, and you'll see it from my ranks, can potentially be good. Other than that, we see Cincinnati. Drew Brees is going to have a good day. We see Pittsburgh. Well, Cam Newton was supposed to be a little bit better today, but his offensive line didn't really help him. Oakland, that means Phillip Rivers is going to be a beast. Kansas City, does that mean I should start Josh Rosen by any chance? Just be careful. I wouldn't go that far just of yet. New England Patriots are, pretty bad against the quarterback position. Is that a reason to start Mariota coming off that big week? I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if I can buy into Mariota. Just as of one performance that just happened to be great. I understand the last 2 performances have been good, but I don't know if I can fully buy into them. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on past those pretty easy matchups. Washington's giving up a lot of points to the quarterback position. Fitzpatrick, guys, he's going to be great. Who's giving up very little amount of points to the quarterback? Arizona Cardinals are giving up the least points to the quarterback position. That's mainly because of the fact that Arizona lets people run the ball straight down their throat for a ton of yards and a ton of points. So that's kind of skewed everything. I think Patrick Mahomes for this coming week is going to be fantastic. He's going to be, his number one self. He's going to put up 30 points in fantasy football, and it's not going to be really much of a problem because that's just what he's capable of doing no matter what's the defense in front of him. Other than that, like we see the Jacksonville Jaguars, are they going to be able to slow down Andrew Luck? Well, I don't know. What kind of Jaguars team are we going to see? Are we going to see the Jaguars team that comes out and is able to put clamps on this, Indianapolis Colts offense and stop them from throwing the ball? Or are we going to see the team that got 40 points dropped on them by a terrible Cowboys team? That's the question at hand. What are we going to see? Other than that, as you can see on the screen, right, it says the Cowboys are giving up the 23rd, the 23rd fewest points to the quarterback position, only about 19.5 points in 6-point per pass. That doesn't bother me. Carson Wentz is still going to have a fantastic week. We saw what Mariota was able to do. We've seen what quarterbacks have been able to do against this Dallas Cowboys defense. But here's the thing. The question is, can the Dallas Cowboys stop or try to at least delay Carson Wentz from getting the ball out as soon as he can? I don't know if they're going to be able to with such a good offensive line. I mean, that's basically the 2 things that we don't mention a lot on this show. But the Atlanta Falcons and the Eagles this coming week, I mean, both of these offensive lines are pretty elite in their own standard. I think the Philadelphia Eagles offense is a lot better because of the injuries that the Atlanta Falcons offense has sustained thus far this season. But both these teams have great offensive lines. That makes, Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz that much better. That's the reason why, on the thumbnail, we had Matthew Stafford with a down arrow sitting next to him because this past week he got sacked 11 times and he has to go play against Khalil Mack this week. Khalil Mack is practicing. He will play. Imagine the field day he's going to have. Anyway, these stats are here. They're up for your reading and absorption. Do what you may. But let's go to the rankings for the quarterback position, shall we? I know this is a shorter video. Do not worry about it because I think I got to do tight ends after this. No big deal. All right, let's talk about the top 16 quarterbacks for this coming week. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. It's easy. Honestly, unless Kareem Hunt comes out and is absolutely just going to run the ball 30-plus times, I think Patrick Mahomes will just be fine. He's my number 1 this week. I think the Arizona Cardinals defense, they're going to try as hard as they can. As much of their effort is going to be put into trying to stop Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to be very successful at doing so. He's been an animal. He is leading, just the point differential in 6-point per passing leagues, okay? Patrick Mahomes and Matt Ryan, those are the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes has put up nearly 64-plus more points than Matt Ryan. He's put up 301 points, while Matt Ryan has put up only about 236 points thus far this season. The discrepancy, the difference is insane. 64 fantasy points, and they've both played the same. Oh, actually, no. Patrick Mahomes has played 1 extra game, but still, you got to be kidding me, right? 1 extra game, 60 whole points. That's something to be. Patrick Mahomes is MVP, guys. Plain and simple. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the number 2 quarterback. We have Drew Brees this week playing against the Cincinnati Bengals. Drew Brees looked fantastic this past week against the Rams defense in a high-pressure situation in a pretty competitive game. He gets to go and play the pretender defense of the Cincinnati Bengals, a defense that has been giving up a ton of points over the last couple weeks. Last time we saw the Cincinnati Bengals, they were giving up a boatload of points to good old Ryan Fitzpatrick. So in the second half of that game, might I add. Okay, Jameis Winston was throwing picks, but Fitzpatrick was trying to dig them out of it. Drew Brees this coming week, whether Des Bryant plays or not, I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. I think Drew Brees is still set to have a fantastic week. So, but if Des Bryant somehow manages to play, it only makes Drew Brees that much better with an extra weapon out there, because Cameron Meredith earlier today was put on the IR. He's out for the season, so they're going to definitely be using Des Bryant a lot more than I thought initially that they were going to. So that's number 2. That's Drew Brees. Number 3, we have Aaron Rodgers going into Miami this coming week. Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers, I think they have a losing record as of right now. I think they're 3-4-1, something like that. I don't even know what the Green Bay Packers are. To be honest, I'm going to look this up. I'm actually quite curious. Oh, goodness. Yep, they're 3-4-1. Oh, man, that is it's not looking great, especially coming off of 2 back-to-back losses to the Rams and the Patriots when they could have potentially beaten the Rams and they should have been more competitive with the Patriots. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is pissed, right? He's got a little bit, we've lit the fire under his ass, and he's ready to come out. He's ready to deliver, playing against a team that, honestly, in my opinion, is not a good team. I don't care how many wins they somehow manage to have. The Dolphins are not a threat, and I think Aaron Rodgers this week is going to have a fantastic week. This is a statement game. He has to be able to turn around the ship, because the Bears, they're ever so getting farther and farther away with their record. And the Minnesota Vikings, they already have gained some distance on Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. So he needs to be able to pick up a win, and I think this week he's going to come out, he's going to sling it, and he's going to be able to find some fantasy points for his owners. Number 4, we have Phillip Rivers going against the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders have given up, the statistic that I saw was they've given up 3 or more touchdowns to every single quarterback they've played in the last 3 weeks, something like that. Actually, I can go ahead and confirm that stat. Let's go find this, shall we? Here we go. Let's go ahead and click this. So the Oakland Raiders, all right, you ready for it? Yeah, in the last 3 weeks, they've given up 3 touchdowns to every single quarterback. So in week 6, played against Russell Wilson, 3 passing touchdowns, Then in week 8, they played against Andrew Luck, 3 passing touchdowns. This past week against Nick Mullins, 3 passing touchdowns. What do you think Phillip Rivers is going to be capable of doing if Nick Mullins is throwing 3 touchdowns? This Raiders defense, they may come out to save some dignity and look like a decent team. They don't want to come out and completely be bums, right? They have pride. I understand they're trying to cash a paycheck at the end of the day, but they have some sort of pride. They may come out and try to put up a fight, but I think Phillip Rivers in this game, the only quarterback, by the way, in the NFL right now who has thrown 2 or more touchdowns every single game this season that they've played in, that is an interesting stat. So you're guaranteed 2 touchdowns from Phillip Rivers this week. I'm looking for 3 or 4. That's why I have him here at number 4 this week against the Oakland Raiders. Number 5, my first start of the week, we have Matt Ryan going against the Cleveland Browns. Honestly, this Atlanta Falcons offense has never looked better. They're getting to the point where they're putting up a bunch of points, and honestly, I don't know who's going to be able to stop them. The foreseeable future, their record, their rest of season schedule. They play against Cleveland. Okay, great. That's a good matchup. Dallas, that's a good matchup. New Orleans, whose defense is not great. Baltimore, who can be taken care of, especially when Matt Ryan plays at home. The Green Bay Packers, that's an easy matchup. Arizona, easy matchup. Carolina, easy matchup. Tampa Bay, easy matchup. Rest of season, they're going to have a pretty easy schedule when it comes to secondaries and being able to throw the ball. Matt Ryan, especially this week, this is another statement game, trying to get his team to 5-4. He's got a great offensive line. He's got great weapons around him, and this team is on fire. He's one of my starts of the week, and he's my number 5 this coming week. Number 6, we have Jared Goff playing against the Seattle Seahawks for this coming week. We've seen them play the Seahawks before, but the main thing that basically has Jared Goff above the rest of the quarterbacks on our list here today is because this Rams offense, they're one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL. I don't care what happened last week. They still ended up putting up 35 points on the board, right? They still ended up scoring 5 touchdowns. That's nothing to fall asleep on. We can't fall asleep watching that as of right now. So where do I see Jared Goff this week with the return of Cooper Kupp? Instant, completely instant fantasy production and being relevant within this offense. We have Jared Goff surrounded by the best possible team he has. Everyone's back from injury. We're fine. We're looking healthy. We're looking to get to that bye week. I think it's week 13 they play at. So they got to finish this last home stretch before they hit that bye week, playing against a team in their division, a team they're familiar with. Jared Goff's going to have a good game. It's in LA. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time they played against the Seahawks in LA, it was like a 42-7 game last season. So it's possible. You never know. Anyway, let's move on to number 7. My second start of the week at the quarterback position. The guy that was drafted after Jared Goff in the 2016 NFL draft. We have here Carson Wentz from the Philadelphia Eagles playing against the Dallas Cowboys. The bummy Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. As I mentioned before, he's got great weapons surrounding him, just like Carson Wentz. I mean, just like Jared Goff, just like Matt Ryan, just like Phillip Rivers. All of these quarterbacks, they have one thing in common. They've got good offensive lines, and they've got good pieces surrounding them all around. Right? That's what makes quarterbacks fantasy relevant. Besides them having talent, it helps them that much more when you have a Zach Ertz to throw to, a Golden Tate, which I'm sure they're going to use a lot. You get a brand new weapon, you want to use that toy. Alshon Jeffrey, honestly, this coming week, he's going to have a fantastic week, and going forward, he's going to be great. He's my number 7. Number 8, we have Andrew Luck. I understand he plays against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. I understand. I told you guys, be careful about T.Y. Hilton. But to be honest, Andrew Luck has been fantastic as of late. He has been one of the top quarterbacks. He's been a surprise throughout the entire season. As of the last couple games, reading his stat lines, oh my goodness. You ready for these stat lines? All right. So since week 4 of the fantasy football season, are we ready for this? 460 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Next game, 360, 3 touchdowns. Next game, 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Then 156, 4 touchdowns. 239, 3 touchdowns. I mean, as of the last 5 weeks, this man is thrown. You ready for it? Drum roll, please. 18 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? In the last 5 weeks. That's insane. It's incredible. And playing at home this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, it really determines where the Colts are going to sit rest of season. Are they going to be able to make a push for the playoffs? This is the matchup. Are they going to be able to play and beat the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think they have a pretty good opportunity, but it really depends on what kind of Jacksonville Jaguar team shows up, because we know even with Jalen Ramsey locking up a guy like T.Y. Hilton, Andrew Luck still loves to throw the ball to Jack Doyle, Eric Ebron, and the backs out of the backfield. He will find a way to be fantasy relevant, and that is why he is my number 8 quarterback on the week. Number 9, we have Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mr. Fitzmagic. The Fitzmagic is still there, and I don't think it's going away. Playing against a defense that just got scorched by Matt Ryan last week. They play against the Washington Redskins that got 40 dropped on their head. So is Ryan Fitzpatrick capable of doing the same? I absolutely believe so. These NFC South teams, they've got a lot of firepower, and they're ready to try to play in shootouts. That's basically their style of football. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, again, with the weapons that surround him, he's going to be great. I don't think this Washington Redskins defense that has not been great as of late, as of the last 4 weeks, they've been giving up a lot of points. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, he is a confident start. I would have probably called him one of my starts of the week, but at this point, it's redundant. I think you have to start him if you own him, unless you have a guy that's above on the list. Anyway, let's move on to number 10, Russell Wilson playing against the Rams. Now, the last time we saw Russell Wilson play the Rams this season, he's pretty good. They put up 30 points. They almost won the game. It was pretty, it was highly competitive. So do I see Russell Wilson putting up fantastic numbers? Sure. I think 2 touchdowns is a given. But again, Doug Baldwin, I think he's hit with a questionable tag. Chris Carson's not completely healthy. This team, they're a little banged up, right? So it's going to be a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson to make plays with not having much. He's going to still have Tyler Lockett, David Moore, Nick Vannett out there, Mike Davis, but is that enough to help him win games? I talk about all these other quarterbacks that have great weapons surrounding them, at least 2 to 3 solid weapons that are perhaps even Pro Bowlers on each of these teams. And then we look at the Seattle offense and we think, wow, it's literally Russell Wilson versus the world. He is by himself trying to manage to carry this team on a weekly basis, and he's being able to do so, which is pretty ridiculous, to be honest. Considering, let's say, for example, you put Russell Wilson on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, how much better he would be. Honestly, just imagine how much better he'd be with all those weapons. Goodness gracious. But anyway, Russell Wilson this week, still going to have it's a decent matchup. I think the offensive line is going to be able to protect him just enough, but it's going to be tough at points, but I still think that Russell Wilson can find success. Therefore, he's my number 10. Number 11, we have Tom Brady, who as of late hasn't been showing up, guys. One touchdown in the last 2 weeks? Because, to be honest, James White has been eating touchdowns on the goal line. And when Sony Michel comes back this week, I think it's going to be more of the same. I think if Tom Brady throws 2 touchdowns, that is a fantastic outcome because, to be honest, there's a lot of vultures in the Patriots organization. It's something that Phillip Rivers owners, Jared Goff owners have had to deal with in the past, where the running backs of the team completely steal away the fantasy productivity of that specific quarterback. So that's the reason why I have Tom Brady this low. I'm worried that Sony Michel, James White are going to steal a lot of fantasy value from Tom Brady going forward. Because, to be honest, the only way Tom Brady, retains his value is if he's making deep bomb threats to, Josh Gordon, perhaps Chris Hogan, those kind of guys. And I don't see many of that happening this coming week. I see Josh Gordon definitely having 1 touchdown, but is 1 touchdown enough for Tom Brady to be fantasy relevant? That's why I have him at 11. All right, we have number 12, Mitchell Trubisky, playing against the Lions defense that by all means has not been fantastic this year. I think Mitchell Trubisky could have a very, very sneaky good game. We haven't talked about him to an extent in a while because this past week he played against the Bills. The game script wasn't on his side, right? The Bears got ahead early with a couple rushing touchdowns, and then the defense stacked on 2 more touchdowns. Boom, you're up 28 points at half. And what are you going to do? You're going to come out in the second half, pass the ball? No, they came out, they tried to kill as much clock as they could. That's exactly what they did. This coming week, Mitchell Trubisky, other than this past week where he scored only, a handful of points, every other week has been 25, 25, 25. I think that we can perhaps get back to that against the Lions that have been struggling every single week, especially if the defense can get after Matthew Stafford, cause some turnovers, create some short field opportunities for Mitchell Trubisky, which I see happening. He can be a very good quarterback for this coming week. All right, number 13, we have Baker Mayfield, who I mentioned earlier. As of the last 3 games of the season, has thrown 2 touchdowns per game. He is looking better and better. I understand they're not winning games, but he's still looking like a quarterback that you can trust on a weekly basis. It's actually pretty insane that Baker Mayfield, it's not insane. I wouldn't say it's completely insane. You were the first overall pick for a reason. So you came into this organization to try to help alleviate some issues, which was the quarterback position. But as of the last 3 weeks, 25 fantasy points, 18 fantasy points, nearly, 21.8 fantasy points in 6 point per passing touchdown leagues. 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games. And to be honest, this matchup against the Falcons, very advantageous. A guy that honestly, if you're struggling because of bye weeks, let's say you had Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson, I think Baker Mayfield off the waiver wire could be a very suitable option for you this coming week. A guy that I honestly think could have a fantastic show out and be really good for you. So he's my number 13. Number 14, we have Andy Dalton. Now, I can't ignore the fact that the Saints give up a bunch of points to the wide receiver position. But if Andy Dalton's not able to find Tyler Boyd consistently, they're going to find themselves in a lot of issues, and they're going to find themselves down a lot of points. Andy Dalton, we know he's not capable of, we know he's capable enough to win games. Okay, we know that. We've seen him win games in the past. But is he good enough to walk into, they're playing at home, so he's not really walking into anywhere. Can we see him play against the Saints without A.J. Green, when the Saints are 7-1, or sorry, I think they're 8-1 at this point, are they? I believe so. They're 8-1, and they're riding their high horse into Cincinnati. Is he capable? I think he is capable enough to put up some sort of fantasy relevance, but is he good enough to be a QB1? I just don't trust that at this point. I would rather, as of right now, sit Andy Dalton, not touch him. I'd way rather play Trubisky or Mayfield this coming week. It's not even like a shadow of a doubt. But if you have to, it's a very advantageous matchup. A couple big plays, a couple bombs to Tyler Boyd or John Ross, and boom, we have some fantasy relevance. But other than that, I'm a little skeptical as of right now for Andy Dalton. All right, number 15, Alex Smith. Here's the thing about Alex Smith. As I mentioned before, right, he has a very, very advantageous matchup, just like Andy Dalton. But if we don't have a go-to wide receiver that is going to for sure have a touchdown, how can I trust this quarterback? I don't know. Alex Smith, a lot of the game relies upon you. You got to just let the ball go. You got to make some deep ball threat plays. And I understand you don't have Tyreek Hill out there anymore, but you got to be able to take top off the defense, at least, empty out the box a little bit so that Adrian Peterson gets some running lanes. I think he'll have a decent week. He's a decent streaming quarterback. But then again, a lot of doubts. All right, the last quarterback I wanted to mention, it's Matthew Stafford, okay? If you are stuck in a pickle and you have to start Matthew Stafford, all right, for example, it's okay to an extent because, to be honest, I understand that the Bears defense, they're going to put on a lot of pressure and Khalil Mack's going to get after him, but I don't think this offensive line can be that bad in back-to-back weeks. We know that offensive lines in the NFL, they can be consistently bad, but I don't think they're going to address it, okay? For sure, they're going to address it, and Matthew Stafford's going to be a little bit cleaner this week. He's not going to get hit as much. Yes, they're not going to be able to run the ball very, very efficiently, but I still think Matthew Stafford could be decent because there's no way they can be that bad back-to-back weeks and people keep their jobs. So anyway, that's my thought process behind it. He's my number 16. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And again, thank you for those of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. You are part of the 4,000 plus subscribers in this community. If you have any questions, please go down to the comment section. Let me know. And if you want, hit me up on Twitter if you have any other questions. And that's basically it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys.